If you're not text blasting in your wholesaling business, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table. I'm gonna give you my top 6 tips for whenever you do get started text blasting, and I'm gonna go into my computer and show you how I automate the process of responding to sellers without even seeing the messages, and how you can use this in your wholesaling business, especially if you work in a 9 to 5. Let's get into it. Tip 1, use the auto reply feature. Now, I'm going to go into my computer and show you how I auto respond to a seller that says their property is sold. Let's get into my computer now. All right, so now that we're in my computer, I'm pretty sure you see that I have different responses. These are some of the most responses that I get on a daily. So I just created a workflow for those particular responses. We're gonna go into the sold tab, and these are mostly the responses that I receive. And when I receive more responses from sellers saying the property is sold in a different way, I just come up here and I add the phrase into this little box here. And as you can see, I have a lot of different phrases. It said, I sold it, it's sold, I sold the property, it's sold already. These are the typical responses that I receive from sellers. So whenever a seller responds to me in this way, it's gonna automatically add a tag that is called property sold, and then it's going to add another tag that says the seller replied, so it'll know to remove the seller out of the campaign. And I'm going to add additional sold tag just for backup. Now once these tags are added, it's going to trigger an action. So the action that it's going to trigger, so I'm in my triggers now, which you'll learn about if you purchase REI Reply. And feel free to check out REI Reply. I have it linked below in the description. So when you go into the property sold trigger, the first thing that you see is what should trigger this rule. So when this tag is added, the property sold tag, which you saw before, it's gonna add that particular seller automatically to this property sold campaign, which I'm going to show you in a few seconds, and it's going to mark this particular conversation as read. So I won't see this message at all because the property is sold. I don't have anything else really to say to the seller. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go and take a look at this particular campaign that is added in. So property sold, refer other properties. So now that we're inside of this campaign, you can see that this message will go out 3 minutes after that property sold tag is added, and this is what's going to be sent out to the seller. That's without me even seeing this message. That's why I say this is gold for someone that is working a 9 to 5 and they're not able to respond. And also, I know you saw all these other responses that I have inside of this folder. Those are tags that are added to trigger an action that will put these particular sellers in a campaign. And what I'm going to do now as a bonus, I'm going to put my phone number inside of this system, and I'm going to show you how this particular campaign that we just went over works without me doing anything. So real quick, before I get into the demonstration, I'm just going to go back into the campaign. I'm just going to make adjustment to the time. I'm going to have it to go back out automatically. But like I said, I normally have it set up to where after the tag is applied, this message will go out after 3 minutes. But I'm just going to change it to immediately. All right, so now we're back inside of my contacts. I'm going to click on my name, and I'm just going to send myself a message. So I'm going to say, hi, David. Would you be interested in selling 123 Main Street? And I'm going to send it. All right, so now this message is going to be shown on the screen now. So I'm going to respond. As you can see, I'm going to respond on this phone. I'm going to say sold. So as you see, it came on the screen. So this is pretty much how it works. It's very simple. You set yourself up to where you have workflows in place that will auto respond to the most common messages, and most of the responses, you won't even have to look at it until it's time for you to check your system and make sure everything is up to date. Now, if you're enjoying the content so far, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell. And leave a comment down below letting me know, what do you think about REI Reply so far? And let's get on to the second tip. So tip 2, make sure that you are round robin the phone numbers that you have. So let's say that you have a campaign that you're sending out to Los Angeles, and you have 5,000 phone numbers that you're going to send text messages to. I recommend having at minimum 5 phone numbers per campaign. And when I say round robin, that means if you send in 3 text messages per 1 minute, out of the 5 phone numbers, the first 3 phone numbers will get the first set of text messages that's going out. Then once you get to the second minute, these last 2 phone numbers will send the text messages, and then it'll circle back to the first phone number. That's going to allow you to keep your phone numbers fresh and not be marked as spam whenever you're sending out text messages. So doing that would actually help you with getting a higher delivery rate. If you look at some of my campaigns have 100% delivery rates. Just because I have 10 phone numbers in one campaign, if I have it set up to where 3 messages go out in 1 minute, it's going to rotate those phone numbers to make sure I'm not burning out one phone number. So use that, and I guarantee you will have success with getting your text messages delivered. Tip 3, make sure that you only upload mobile phone numbers. This is very, very important because even though sending text messages with REI reply is only 0.0075 cents, you still don't want to be wasting money. If you want to have a successful wholesaling business, you need to make sure that you're not sending text messages to landlines. Whenever you do send text messages to landline inside of RI reply, you are being charged that 0.0075 cents. And that can also affect your delivery rate as well too, because it's not going to be able to deliver those messages to the landline, which will make your campaign look like it's doing horrible. So make sure you separate your landlines from your mobile numbers, which you can do that in Excel and sort your mobile numbers out, and you should be good to go. Tip 4, have campaigns set up for different responses that you receive back from the seller. The main campaigns that you need to have a cold lead campaign, a warm campaign, and a hot campaign. And you need to have a not interested campaign as well too. And you can have many more campaigns than that. I have campaigns where if a seller says that they want me to follow up with them in 30 days or in 2 weeks, I have different campaigns just for that. I know you may say, oh, that's a lot of work. But guess what? It's going to be worth it in the long run when you actually follow up with the seller the way they told you to follow up with them, and making sure that you stay in front of them so whenever they do raise their hand and they're ready to sell, you are actually there. So spend a whole day just writing down different campaigns that you will need to automatically follow up with sellers, and I guarantee you will see the value in it in the coming months. You may not be able to get your first deal or a deal in the first month of doing this, but as you follow up, which a lot of wholesalers are not doing, you're going to see that you will start to close more deals consistently. Tip 5, for these home run sellers that say, yes, I want to sell, I need to sell in the next few days or in the next week or so, you need to make sure before you start text blasting that you have a Podio system set up. If you don't have a custom built Podio that can automatically send out text messages, you can create a campaign inside of REI reply that will automatically follow up with hot leads in the time frame that they want to be follow up with, but you also need to remove those sellers out of REI reply and move them into Podio so that you can be following up with them with a phone call and a text, because those are going to be the quick deals that you could potentially get every single month. So you want to make sure that only thing that you putting inside of your Podio system is leads that you actually made offers on. Tip 6, don't spend a whole lot of time texting these sellers back and forth. The quicker you can get them on the phone, the better, because you need to make sure that this person is serious, they're not tire kickers, or that they're not someone that's pretending to be the seller, because that can happen sometime too, because a lot of people be receiving text messages and they get tired of it. So you need to get them on the phone as soon as possible. That's going to speed up the process. And guess what? Sometimes whenever you send a text message to a seller and they say, yes, I want to sell, or I may want to sell in the near future, and they don't respond, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give them a call to try to get them on the phone if they don't respond to my text message, even if we don't schedule an appointment. So make sure whenever you are sending out text messages, in your mind, you know that you want to get these sellers on the phone in order to get the deal closed as soon as possible and see exactly what needs to be done to actually get the seller to sell. Now, to really get going with text blasting, Of course, it's going to take data. It's going to take a good bit of data to get a good bit of mobile numbers. Like if you get 10,000 records, it may come out with 3,000 mobile numbers and the rest will be landlines. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But with 3,000 numbers, if you send 1,000 texts in one day, you're going to burn through those 3,000 phone numbers in 3 days. And some records may have 2 mobile numbers in it. So it just depends on the type of list that you're going after and the type of sellers that you're going after. The more records that you have skip trace, the better chances of you getting more mobile numbers. So you can really text blast 500 to 600 sellers a day, which that is on the high side for one person. But with this automation stuff that we went over, you can definitely send out that amount of messages and it won't be as bad as someone that is responding to each individual message without an auto reply being set up. Now, if you want a good cold call set up in your business, check out my video here and I'll see you next time.